Miley Cyrus threw Liam Hemsworth, her fiancé. I didn't know that they were engaged again. Okay, good. I'm glad they're engaged again. She threw him a birthday party, a weed-themed birthday party. We have some pictures. Let's take a look. So that's actually from Mary Jane, which is Snoop Dogg's company, so weed company. So he donated a lot of weed goodies, and she thanked them. She thanked him, rather. She said, Mary Jane hooked it up. Wowzy. Thanks, Uncle Snoop Dogg, for being such a dope ganja innovator. So there was that. Of course, look at her. You saw all her dollar bills, and then they were dressed. She had a few different outfits on. So this is one of the outfits.
Wait, I think this
It looks Photoshop.
This is Photoshop. I think this was like a cardboard cutout. That
Oh, okay, yeah, because she was in a pink
NWO?
onesie. She was like in a pink, like very cartoony onesie, very ravey. And this is, I guess, a cutout. It looks good. I think they did a good job. But if you look to, at least after this article, I was reading like the different comments, and they were slammed. She was slammed for having a weed-themed birthday party, and we'll talk about that and why people have such like a staunch reaction to the weed-themed birthday party. Thoughts, 5 words or less?
Guess my invite got lost.
Yeah.
I marijuana go.
Liam Hemsworth is hot.
She couldn't be more blunt. She's definitely pro-weed. And what's funny, though, is...
That was good. You kind of crushed that one out of all of them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what's funny, though, is most birthday parties that you see, like on Instagram, at least like for like 21-year-olds, or I think he's like 27, but for somebody that's... Most parties are going to be alcohol-themed. So why is there such a stigma with marijuana when it's much better drug than alcohol?
It's also legal in the state, and everyone was of the legal age. And I think the thing that I was coming back to is exactly what you touched on. How many birthday parties do we know are
guzzling?
Are alcohol themed, whether intentionally or inadvertently they're themed alcohol. Like some people will have tequila bars or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but it's certainly I don't think that a weed themed party is any worse than just having your birthday party themed alcohol, whether or not you realize that or not.
I think the stigma of pot still exists because, for years, pot wasn't legal, and pot was like the gateway drug. You start smoking pot, then it's crack. Heroin. Crack is whack. But I think I would have loved to have been at this party. Like, I wonder what kind of pot Mary Jane's delivered. Was it sativa? Because, I don't smoke weed, but I have a lot of friends who do smoke weed, and just what they tell me about it is super...
What they tell you.
It's super awesome. It's amazing. And also, Miley Cyrus, I don't know if people still think Miley is a role model. After the finger and the whole VMA thing, I thought maybe she lost that moniker. But maybe people are having such a stunt.
She totally is a role model.
I think so, too.
The things she does for trans rights, for homeless youth, LGBT youth, the things she does for animals.
But no,
I was going to get to that.
But no, Sam, no, we know that.
Yeah.
But Middle America, people who still live under rocks in Joplin, Missouri may think that she's Hannah Montana still. Yeah. And so by her having a weed party, the message she's sending out to their little sisters and stuff like that. So I'm saying, we know what she does for people. We know how great she is, but maybe some people don't. So that could be a very clear reason why there's such a staunch reaction to this weed party that I wish I was at.
It's a really good point.
For Middle America, the fact that she is also like a prominent LGBT rights activist is not necessarily, it also means that she's not a role model in a good way.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so this is just another thing that she's doing on top of all of that, where, people probably assume that she is Illuminati and spreading this like weird lack of moral boundaries to all of America as an influencer, basically.
Yeah.
But go on. Yeah, you say it. I'm done.
That was great. I think that was a really good point.
That was my point.
What I would also say is that while in California it's legal, you can't forget that federally marijuana is still categorized in the same way that we categorize heroin. So much of Middle America, if we're assuming that this is Middle America, who knows? There could be some detractors in California or New York or whatever, more metropolitan areas. It doesn't really matter. If they are thinking that marijuana is a gateway drug, it's because federally it is still recognized as such. So if there's a stigma, it is only being perpetrated also by the United States government. Right now, the U.S. government isn't saying any differently. So if you're like, well, maybe in California you guys are all sort of wonky hippies, but really we know that the U.S. government wouldn't lie to us. They are saying it is just as bad as heroin, so therefore it must be. But we know that it was really the war on drugs and whatever. If you do a little bit of research, we know why marijuana got that classification.
Yeah, C13. C13, that'll be a great little education for you.
I mean, like, but the point I was trying to say is, like, there are plenty of things that are now federally legal, like gay marriage, that middle America doesn't necessarily agree with and will constantly fight, and then douchebag Republican legislators will go ahead and pass bills like HB2 just to appease their constituents, and it's like
and
a
Miley
constant
Cyrus
back and
flies
forth.
in the face of so much of what you're talking about, Hasan, because she has been open about sort of her own gender expression and identity and how she views that as sort of fluid. She's been open about her sexuality. She's open about what drugs she's taking in. And I have said this, I think, for a while. People sort of say that she's the crazy one of the whole Disney bunch because, you know, we grew up with Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus. Well, Hillary Duff was a little bit removed from that generation, but, you know, that's that group. And when Miley sort of cut her hair, just her cutting her hair visually was like, she's crazy. But really, she might be the most sane of all of them because she's the most transparent about what she's putting into her body, who she loves, what causes she supports.
And she spreads love at the end of the day. Like her Happy Hippie Foundation is absolutely a great example of what you would want your child hopefully to be a part of, you know, philanthropy wise. But I will say, you know, I think you brought up a really good point. At the end of the day, these are adults. These are adults because even though marijuana, in my opinion, and according to most doctors, marijuana is not as harmful as alcohol, but it's still harmful for teens. And I do want to say that, like when you're a teen and your brain is not developed, marijuana is still not a good thing. So we're not advocating for teens out there to go out there and to use drugs. I'm not.
Well, we'd be able to learn more about it if it wasn't classified as a Schedule I drug, and then people could actually have widespread testing on it at the federal level. So then we could actually conclusively tell people whether marijuana is bad for you or not.
Well, doctors have continuously said, and researchers have said, when it comes to like a growing brain, like a 14-year-old, it's going to hinder their brain development as opposed to like a 25-year-old. Way different than alcohol. Alcohol is way worse. They've also said that alcohol is way worse, and especially as an adult, when you compare the two, you know, there's far more incidents when people are drunk on alcohol than high on weed, and so that's something to remember. But again,
you can die from alcohol poisoning, but you can't die from overdosing on weed. There's no instance of anyone ever dying from overdosing on weed. Now, with edible marijuana becoming like a, you know, fast growing industry, that might change, but for the time being, it's the green rush. It is a fast-growing industry, but that's where parents. My point is, it's not up to Miley. I mean, she's an adult. She can smoke weed. She can do what she wants. It's up to parents then to step in and be like, "Hey, you saw Miley smoking weed. You know, you're 12 years old. I don't advocate that. That's not right for you." So it's not her responsibility. Is my point.
What's even worse, since we're talking about, you know, drugs with teenagers, what's worse than marijuana is these Schedule II substances like Adderall and Vyvanse that these kids are like.
Yes.
I mean, I took Adderall from the time I was 15 to 25, and I had when in New Mexico, people wanted to buy my bottles of Adderall. You know, so it's like I think that's more of a problem.
Yes, it is more of a problem.
Marijuana.
Prescription pills are more addictive than anything else, and they cause more people getting into rehab and more deaths and overdoses, and it's accessible to kids, and they think because it comes in a little prescription bottle that it's safe.
And doctors
it's not.
It's not. And doctors will write a prescription so quick for it.
Ironically, the biggest gateway drug is still prescribed painkillers for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all of a sudden it's not accessible anymore after you can't get more and more of it from your doctor, and then you go and buy heroin, which is unregulated as a substance.
Absolutely right, and cheaper, and you trust your doctor, and you think that it's okay, and it's very scary. So anyways, that took a totally different turn. I like it though. So please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time on Pop Sugar.